taking a look back at the movie summer season. What good movies did we get this summer? I'm gonna give you my top 10 summer movies of 2019. What were yours? Let's talk in the comments. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and these are my top 10 summer movies of 2019. Did you think we had a good summer for movies? Let's talk about that in the comments. And while you're there, hit that subscribe button and the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified every time I drop a video like this. Coming in for me at number 10, Angry Birds 2. This one was not my favorite movie of the summer, but it was one of my bigger surprises because I wasn't a huge fan of the first Angry Birds movie. I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like it either. It's kind of like right there in the middle, and I was not expecting much out of Angry Birds 2. But I ended up laughing out loud more times than I thought I would because of the surprise of how much I enjoyed the characters and because of how much I ended up laughing with them. I'm giving this one the number 10 space. Number 9, Toy Story 4. Man, I didn't know what to expect when I heard that this one was coming out because to me, Toy Story 3 was just the perfect ending. But I think Toy Story 4 not only justified its existence, but did a good job carrying on the story of the toys and giving us closure with Woody and showing us him finding a new purpose in his life. Kind of interesting how they dealt with the idea of a lost toy, but a lost toy isn't just a toy lost from its owner, it's a toy that is lost in its soul. Do toys have souls?
So play nice.
Anyway, I think this one did a good job of taking Woody's story from the very first movie all the way through this one and bringing it full circle and bringing it to a close. Because really, he's Andy's toy. And now that he belongs to this girl, it's not like this cowboy's gonna be this girl's favorite toy. So it definitely had some heartwarming moments and did a good job closing out the story of Woody. Number 8, Men in Black International. Was this a summer blockbuster that Sony was hoping for? I highly doubt it, but I like the Men in Black series. I think it's pretty fun, and I didn't go into this movie with the highest of expectations, and I got out of this movie exactly what I expected. So while watching it, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. It was cool to see Men in Black go beyond the world of Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones and see International and to introduce Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. I feel like those two did a good job. So for me, I thought it was a fine movie and I had fun with it. Number 7, Hobbs Shaw. For me, if ever you were looking for a movie this summer that was totally mindless, that you could turn your brain off and not think about one darn thing and just have fun with the action, that's exactly what Hobbs Shaw is. I mean, it's ridiculous. You have Idris Elba, who is this Superman, basically, this enhanced soldier, and I can't tell the difference between him and Hobbs Shaw, or really almost any other character in this. I mean, my gosh, Hobbs catches a freaking helicopter with a chain and whips it around the chain thingy, and yeah, I don't know, it was nuts. It's like, how... The point is for me though, they had a lot of fun. I think Jason Statham and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson had a great chemistry. It absolutely sold me. I thought the entire cast was fun. Awesome surprise cameos from Ryan Reynolds and Kevin Hart. So the whole cast mixed together, their whole chemistry, it was fun. This movie was dumb. It knew it was dumb, and it had fun with that. And because it was able to just kind of know what it is and have fun, I had a good time. So for me, this was the fun, mindless action film of the summer. Number 6, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. What do you want to see in a monster movie? You want the monsters, and you want the fights, and you want to be able to see those monsters fighting. I was there to see Godzilla and more of the movie and see gigantic monsters in their full monster glory fighting. And for the most part, that's exactly what I got. I thought the people were more interesting in this one than the first one. Still though, when you're watching a monster movie, you want less emphasis on the human characters, because who cares? You want more of the monsters. And so that's where I had my fun, was watching the monsters fight, having those intense action sequences. And so I thought overall that was pretty good. And now I'm very much looking forward to Godzilla vs. Kong. Are you looking forward to that one? Let's talk about that in the comments. Number 5, Brightburn. This was kind of, like, if you're a comic book nerd like me, this was kind of a fascinating take on the Superman story, because to me it really was the reverse Smallville. You have the show Smallville, called Smallville, after Smallville, Kansas, where Clark grew up and he chooses good. Now, this movie is called Brightburn, after Brightburn, Kansas, where this kid lands, and instead of choosing to be good, he chooses to be bad. You get little lines in there where he's like, Mom, I want to be good. Now, what made me like this movie is it made me like Superman all the more because, I mean, what do you do when you're 11, 12 years old and you have all of these powers and all of this temptation just to get whatever you want whenever you want because of all of these abilities? And somehow Clark Kent loved his parents, reined in that selfishness, and rose above it to be like the greatest superhero ever. So I feel like when you watch Brightburn, kind of the reverse Superman, the mirror image Superman, the Bizarro Superman in the Bizarro universe, dun dun dun, I think it's just a really good look that kind of heightens the respect for the character of Superman. And even though he's the Boy Scout, it just shows you how important it was for him, especially a character like him, to make that choice to be the goody good and be the Boy Scout, and gives you more respect for the type of self-control that Clark Kent has got to have. That's what I enjoyed about this. Number 4, Angel Has Fallen. Now, I just ranked the Has Fallen trilogy worst to best. You can check out that ranking right now. London Has Fallen is my favorite in this trilogy, but this summer, Angel Has Fallen was a really good, solid, action-packed release. This one was just interesting to see Mike Banning, the #1 guardian angel of the president, framed for the attempted murder of the president, played by Morgan Freeman. And now, not only is Mike Banning in trouble because he's framed, but he's still got to protect the president because the people that framed him are still going after the president. So he's got to prove his innocence, but he's also got to prove his innocence to save the person he's supposed to serve and protect. So lots of good, solid action, interesting story, and Nick Nolte was just flipping hilarious. Number 3, John Wick, Chapter 3. These top 3 were ridiculously hard. But in terms of action movies that came out this summer, John Wick Chapter 3 is the winner, hands down. It is my favorite action film that came out like this year, period. I love these John Wick films, and John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum was just awesome. Keanu Reeves, man, I know you watched Durbania. I'm excited for John Wick Chapter 4, man. I cannot wait. And Matrix 4. Whoa. Number 2, Avengers In Game. This movie had me cheering and screaming and on my feet. As soon as he called forth Mjolnir, and by he, I mean Captain America, called forth Mjolnir, and he caught that thing, as soon as that happened, man, I found myself on my feet in the theater screaming and applauding. It was just such an awesome moment. So I think Avengers Endgame was incredible this summer because not only was it a great action film, not only was it a great superhero film, but for me personally, it managed to take 10, 11 years of the MCU being built up since 2008 with the first Iron Man movie and bring it to a satisfactory conclusion, and then plant seeds for things to move forward with the Disney Plus shows and the other movies. So I feel like they brought all of that to an epic conclusion with Endgame. Number 1, Spider-Man Far From Home. This one is coming in at my number 1 for this summer because of my experience seeing it on the big screen. This was when my in-laws were all out, we're having a reunion, and I went with my 2 brother-in-laws and my 2 nephews to see this movie. My oldest of those nephews is 10 years old. So like this was their first real time having the boys' day with us, hanging out and seeing a movie, and it got to be Spider-Man Far From Home, and none of us had ever seen it, so we were all watching it for the first time. And I gotta tell you, we all had a blast watching it together. I think in terms of live-action Spider-Man movies, it's my favorite live-action Spider-Man movie that has been made. Tom Holland is my favorite actor to portray him thus far. He does a great job at both being Spider-Man and being Peter Parker. And I think the revelations at the end post-credit scenes were incredible. The fact that we got J. Jonah Jameson back, and the one that we know and love from the original trilogy, but he reveals Spider-Man's identity to the world. What is that? And then we have Skrulls, and you know, it was Nick Fury was a Skrull, Agent Hill was a Skrull. What's going to happen here in the future? I am very sad that the Sony-Disney deal didn't quite go through. The foundation of this Spider-Man is a very MCU foundation. So no, I don't think he has to go and be in another Avenger movie, but for Sony to at least have the permission to be able to talk about Iron Man in the MCU and this Spider-Man's roots, and even if they can't use those characters going forward, to at least be able to acknowledge that foundation and to acknowledge that stuff as they go forward would be a pretty big deal for me. So I really hope at the very least, they're allowed to mention the name Nick Fury or Tony Stark or events from MCU, even if they can't bring in those characters and bring in those cameos or use some of those storylines. Just acknowledge it, man. That's where this Spider-Man has come from. So we can't like cut that off. So I'll be curious to see this Spider-Man's future, but I'm telling you, I'm on board for it. And I'm excited to see where we're gonna go with this particular Spider-Man. So that's my list of my top 10 summer movies of 2019. What are your top 10? Let's talk about that in the comments. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button to become a Durbanian. Hit that bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for my next ranking video, theological analysis, movie review, ranking video, trailer reaction, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.